The title of my topic is Super heavy elements, synthesis and modes of decay. The plan of my talk is as given here. First, I would like to introduce super heavy elements. Then I will discuss about various methods to synthesize super heavy element. After that, the theoretical model we use to find the production cross-section of super heavy element. After that, I will discuss about the modes of decay. The main modes of decay of super heavy elements are alpha decay and spontaneous fission. Usually, super heavy element undergoes sequential alpha decay and end with spontaneous fission. Then I will discuss the various theoretical procedure to compute alpha half-life and spontaneous half-life, and the method to find the mode of decay of super heavy element. Finally, I would like to mention about the probable cluster radioactivity from super heavy region, and finally the conclusion. Now, super heavy element. The elements with proton number are set greater than or equal to 104 are usually referred to as super heavy element. With the availability of new technologies and advancement in the accelerator facility, we are now able to synthesize super heavy element up to set equal to 118, and attempts to produce super heavy element set equal to 119 and 120 are going in progress. There are two types of mechanism for the production of super heavy element. First one is the cold fusion reaction performed at GSI Germany, and second one is the hot fusion reaction performed at JINR Russia. First, cold fusion reaction. Cold fusion reaction is the 208 lead or 209 bismuth based reaction. In this reaction, one or two neutrons are evaporated. The excitation energy of this reaction is about 10 MeV. Using this method, we can produce super heavy elements from 107 to 113. Now, next, hot fusion reaction. It is a 48 calcium induced fusion reaction. Here, actinides are used as targets. Actinides means Z equal to 89 to Z equal to 99 are used. In this reaction, the reaction is characterized by the evaporation of more than 3 neutrons. Using the excitation energy involved in this process in this reaction are about 40 to 50 MeV. Using this technique, super heavy element with Z equal to 112 to 118 have been synthesized. This is the recent periodic table. Here, super heavy elements are arranged in 7th row. This chart gives the name of super heavy elements, set value of super heavy element, and symbol for the super heavy elements. I would like to mention all elements, including the newly synthesized super heavy element, that is Z118 are also named. This is the schematic representation of formation of super heavy element. Here, projectile hits the target capture the projectile, fusion occurs, and compound nucleus is formed. After evaporation of few neutrons, evaporation residue or super heavy element is formed. So the production cross-section of super heavy element is the product of capture cross-section, compound nucleus formation probability, and survival probability. We developed a model named phenomenological model for production cross-section. In this model, we calculated or computed production cross-section as the product of capture cross-section, compound nucleus probability, and survival probability. How to compute capture cross-section? For computing capture cross-section, we can use first relation or we can use the relation of Wong. Here R0 and E0 are the barrier radius and barrier height, and H cross omega is the curvature of inverted harmonic oscillator. The PCN, the probability of compound nucleus formation, can be calculated using this equation. Here HCF is the effective facility which can be calculated using this equation, and the constants for hot fusion and cold fusion are given here. Now, how to compute survival probability? Survival probability can be computed using this equation. Here lambda n and lambda s represent decay width of neutron, evaporation, and fission. The constants are given here. For computing survival probability, computer codes are now available. Now, projectile target combination for the synthesis of super heavy element with set equal to 120 and mass number equal to 302. Here what we have done is we have studied the cold fusion, cold reaction value plot. Cold reaction value plot is the plot connecting driving potential and projectile mass. Here driving potential can be calculated. It is driving potential is equal to interaction potential minus Q value. Here interaction potential is the sum of Coulomb potential and nuclear potential. We can compute Q value from the mass defect. Here the projectile mass is taken from 1 to 151. 151 is the half of 302. That is, we have considered all mass splitting. For each or every mass splitting, there are number of pair of charges. From the number of pair of charges, we select the one which have least driving potential. So we can able to plot the graph. Here each point represent the combination for the production of super heavy element 302 120. Here we can see three cold valleys: region 1, region 2, and region 3. Region 1 is centered around 48 calcium. 48 calcium is a doubly magic nucleus with 28 neutron and 20 protons. And second region is around 208 pp or 208 lead. 208 pp also a doubly magic nucleus with 82 proton and 126 neutron. And the third region is around 132 SN. 132 SN is also a doubly magic nucleus with proton number 50 and neutron number 82. Here the combination around region 1, that is around 48 calcium, is suitable for hot fusion reaction, and the combination around second region, that is around lead, is suitable for cold fusion reaction. The combination around third region, here the combination is more symmetric. So as a result, the potential pocket is very shallow, potential pocket is very small. So this combination cannot be used for the production of super heavy nucleus. Now we can study the interaction barrier of each combination of projectile and target. Here this represents the interaction barrier for 88 chromium plus 214 polonium. Here from this plot we can note the barrier height and barrier radius. Here this height is the barrier height and this distance is the barrier distance, and height of potential pocket or quasi-efficient barrier is this distance. This is the depth of potential pocket. So all the interaction potential barrier of all the combination found in the Old Valley is studied. From this we note the potential barrier height and barrier radius, and also depth of potential pocket. Here we have listed barrier height in second column, barrier radius in third column, and depth of potential pocket in the third region. The reactions are given in first column. This is the graph connecting compound nucleus formation probability versus excitation energy for the reaction for the 44 argon-induced reaction, 46 argon-induced reaction, 48 calcium-induced reaction, and 50 calcium-induced reaction. In all these plots, we can see that PCN increases with the excitation energy. Here, this is a plot connecting PCN, I think a compound nucleus formation probability versus projectile mass. The first plot is for hot fusion reaction, and the second plot is for cold fusion reaction. Here we can see that compound nucleus formation probability decreases with projectile masses, or compound nucleus formation probability decreases as mass, as the symmetry between projectile and target increases. From the graph, we can see that the compound nucleus formation probability of hot fusion reaction is larger than that for cold fusion reaction. This is the graph connecting capture cross section with the excitation energy or capture excitation function, and this is the fusion excitation function and the evaporation residue cross section. This curve represents the evaporation residue cross section in one neutron channel. Two neutrons channel, and this represents the red line. Red graph represents the evaporation residue cross section in 2n, 3n channel, and this dotted curve represents that for 4n, and this curve represents the evaporation residue cross section for 5n channel. Similarly, we have plotted evaporation residue cross section for 46 argon induced reaction. From these curves, we have noted the maximum value of evaporation residue cross section. This value is the maximum value of evaporation residue cross section in 3n channel. This is same plot but for different reaction, that is 48 induced reaction and 48 calcium induced reaction and 50 calcium induced reaction. Here also we have noted the maximum evaporation residue cross section for each channel, for each reaction. This also the same graph but for the reaction 52 calcium, 54 titanium, 64 titanium, and 52 calcium induced reaction and 54 calcium induced reaction. From these plots also we have noted the maximum value of evaporation residue cross section for each channel. Here we listed the evaporation residue, maximum value of evaporation residue for 2n channel is given in the second column, that for 3n channel is given in the third column, 4n channel is given in the fourth column, and 5n channel is given in the fifth channel. The combination for hot fusion reactions are given here. In left, the combination for cold fusion reactions are given. Corresponding maximum value of evaporation residue cross section is given. Here the cross section we got is very low compared to cross section in hot fusion reaction. From this table we can see that 48 calcium induced reaction has maximum evaporation residue cross-section in 3N channel, and also in 48 calcium induced reaction, the 4N channel have the maximum value for evaporation residue cross-section. For synthesis of element with Z equal to 120, the combination studied in experimental and other theoretical studies are 154 chromium induced reaction, 58 iron induced reaction, and 64 nickel and 50 titanium induced reaction. We have studied the capture cross-section, fusion cross-section, and evaporation residue cross-section in each channel for the 54 calcium induced, chromium induced reaction and 50 iron induced reaction. Here, this is for evaporation residue cross-section for 2N channel. This is red line for 3N channel. This is for 4N channel and 5N channel. Similarly, this plot also represents the evaporation residue channel in different various channels. In these figures, we can note that our predicted value are within the experimental upper limit. Experimental upper limit for this reaction are given here. And this is the comparison of our evaporation residue cross-section in 3N and 4N channel for 54 chromium and 58 iron induced reaction. Comparison of our values prediction with other theoretical model. Here, the last row represent our calculation and other rows represent other theoretical model prediction. From the table, we can see that our value also match with other model predictions. This is comparison for evaporation, maximum evaporation residue cross-section for 3N channel and 4N channel for 64 nickel and 50 titanium induced reaction. Here, the last row represent our prediction, and from this table, we can see that our predictor value are also in tune with the other theoretical prediction. Now we can projectile target pair for the synthesis of super EV element with Z equal to 117. As earlier, we have plotted cold reaction value plot for this isotope. Here also we can see three values. One is around 48 calcium, other is around 208 PV, and last one is around 132 tin. The combination around 132 SN is not used for the production of super heavy elements since the potential pocket is very shallow. The combination around 48 calcium is used for hot fusion reaction. Combination around 208 PV is used for cold fusion reaction. Here we have studied capture cross-section, fusion cross-section, and the evaporation residue cross-section, and the evaporation residue excitation function. We have noted the maximum value of evaporation residue cross-section in each channel. The second column represents the maximum value of evaporation residue cross-section in 2N channel, and 3N channel is given in the third column. Fourth column represent the 4N channel, and fifth column represent the 5N channel, and the reaction for hot fusion reaction are given here. From the table, we can see that 48 calcium induced reaction have maximum value of evaporation residue cross-section, and 40 sulfur induced reaction has maximum value of evaporation residue cross-section in 4N channel. Now the comparison of our predicted maximum value for 48 calcium induced reaction. Here last row represent our prediction, and predictions of other models are given in these rows. Here also we can see that our prediction also match with the other model predictions. This is the comparison of experimental value with our prediction for 48 calcium induced reaction for in the 3N channel, and second table represent the foreign channel. Here, our work is given in the last column. Experimental value is given in the second column. From the table, we can see that our prediction is agree with the experimental value. That for both for 3N channel and 4N channel. And this is the prediction of projectile target combination for the synthesis of Z116, that is livermorium. Here also we have plotted Old Valley. Here we have plotted 3 graphs with different angular momentum L value. That is, first one graph represent L value equal to 0, and second graph represent L value equal to 15 H cross, and third one L value equals to 30 H. Here also we can see 3 old values, one around 48 calcium, and second around 208 Pb, and third around 132 SN. As earlier, the combination around 132 SN is not suitable for the production of the super heavy element with Z equal to 116. The combination around 48 is apt for hot fusion reaction, and combination around 208 Pb is apt for cold fusion reaction. As earlier, we have studied capture cross-section, fusion cross-section, and evaporation residue cross-section for each channel for the reaction, 48 calcium-induced reaction and 50 calcium-induced reaction. Here, for 48 calcium-induced reaction, experimental values are available. Experimental values are also plotted in this graph. From the graph, we can see that our value agree with experiment within experimental limit. Here, the evaporation residue cross-section, maximum evaporation residue cross-section for the combination found in Old Valley. These are the combination found in the Old Valley. This represents the maximum evaporation residue cross-section in 2N channel, 3N channel, 4N channel, and 5N channel. From the table, we can see that 48 calcium induced 50 calcium induced reaction have maximum evaporation probability for the probability in 3N channel, and 46 argon induced reaction has maximum evaporation residue cross-section in 4N channel. This graph represents the calcium induced reaction on different curium isotope producing different isotopes of livermorium. Here, second column represents maximum evaporation residue cross-section for 2N channel, and that for 3N channel is given in the third column, 4N channel is given in the fourth column, and 5N channel is given in the fifth column. Here we can see that 295 livermorium has maximum production cross-section in 3N channel, and 298 livermorium have maximum production cross-section in 4N channel. Now, studies on evaporation residue cross-section using different mass tables and shell correction. Here we have used mass table of molar and also mass tables of Warsaw group. This first graph represents the capture cross-section for the 48 calcium induced reaction on different plutonium isotopes, and here second graph represents the fusion cross-section for the reaction for 48 calcium induced reaction on different isotopes of plutonium. Here we have in this table we have given the maximum evaporation residue cross-section in 2N channel, in this column 3N channel, in this column 4N channel, and last column 5N channel. The reactions are given here. These tables are computed using molar mass table. From this table, we can see that 291 fluorovium has maximum production cross-section in 3n channel, and 292 fluorovium has maximum cross-section in 4n channel. This is evaporation residue cross-section for 48 calcium induced reaction. This curve represents 2n channel, red curve represents 3n channel, dotted lines represent the 4n channel, and 5n channel is given. Here experimental values are available, so we have plotted the experimental values on these plots. From the graph we can see that our prediction match with the experimental values within experimental limit, experimental errors. Now, the second table represent that for using Warsaw group table. Here also we have compared our predictions with the experimental values, and we can see that our prediction also match with experimental values within experimental errors. While using the mass table of Warsaw group, Q value of the reaction was found to be larger than that using Moller table. Excitation energy is reduced. The overall effect is that evaporation residue cross-section is decreased by using the binding energies and fission barrier of Warsaw group. The calculated values using Moller table are in excellent agreement with experimental value than that for Warsaw table. These are the combination used, reactions used for the production of different ignition isotope. Ignition is Z118. These are our predictions. We have computed evaporation residue cross-section for 2n channel, 3n channel, 4n channel, and 5n channel for different 48 calcium induced reaction. Here thick line represent the graph plot obtained using Moller table, and thin line represent the graph obtained using Warsaw table. This is a chart showing the evaporation maximum value of evaporation residue cross-section in 3n channel and 4n channel. 3n channel is given here, 4n channel is given here. The reaction are given in the first column. These values are obtained using Moller and Nix table. Here we can see that maximum value of production cross-section is for 299 OG for 3n channel, and maximum production cross-section is obtained. This is the same table, but for using Warsaw group mass table. So reaction are given in the first column. Evaporation residue cross-section are given in this column. For 3n channel is given in this column, and evaporation residue cross-section are given in this. For 4n channels is given in the last column. Here we can see that the maximum production cross-section is obtained for 299 OG in 3n channel. Now, the reaction used for the production of super isotopes of super heavy element with Z119 are first calcium induced reaction and titanium induced reaction. We have the first column represent the different reaction. These four are 42 calcium induced reaction. These four are 44 calcium induced reaction. These four are 46 calcium induced reaction, and these four are 48 calcium induced reaction, and these two values for 46 titanium induced reaction. Here we can see that 48 calcium, we can see that 311 209 have maximum production cross-section, that is for 48 calcium induced reaction in 3N channel. In 4N channel, 302 119 have maximum production cross-section for the reaction 48 calcium induced reaction in 4N channel. This is the comparison of our prediction with the other theoretical studies. The last row represents our prediction and other theoretical model prediction are given in other row. From this table also, we can see that our prediction also agree with the other theoretical prediction. This table represent the comparison of our evaporation residue cross-section for 3N and 4N channel. Our prediction are given in this column, and the experimental values are given in the third column. The reaction are given in the first column. So from the table we can see that our theoretical prediction are in agreement with the experimental value for 290 flerovium, 292 flerovium, 291 moscovium, 296 livermorium, and 297 tennyson, and 297 ognesium. Now we can go to the second part of my talk, that is modes of decay of super-heavy element. So in introduction, I have mentioned that super-heavy main modes of decay of super-heavy elements are alpha decay and spontaneous fission. But usually super-heavy element undergoes sequential alpha decay and end with spontaneous fission. For example, in the case of super-heavy element 294117, it undergoes 6 alpha chain and finally it breaks by spontaneous fission. In the case of 293117, it undergoes 3 alpha chains and finally it breaks by spontaneous fission. Also, in the case of 294118, it undergoes 3 alpha chain and finally it breaks with the spontaneous fission. Now, the Coulomb and proximity potential model. The model is developed in 2000. Here, for the touching configuration and separated configuration, interaction potential is taken as the sum of Coulomb potential, nuclear potential, and centrifugal potential. For nuclear potential, we use the proximity potential. The proximity potential can be computed using these expressions, and barrier penetrability can be calculated using one-dimensional WKB approximation, and T-half is calculated our usual expression log 2 divided by nu into P, where nu is the Assault frequency. This model is used for the computation of alpha half-life and also for the computation of cluster decay half-life. And next, Coulomb and proximity potential model for deformed nucleus. This is the modified version of Coulomb and proximity potential model. Here, Coulomb and CPP are used for spherical nuclei. Here, this model can be used for deformed nuclei also. Here, interacting potential barrier is taken as the sum of deformed Coulomb potential, deformed proximity potential, and centrifugal potential. The deformed Coulomb potential can be calculated by this equation. Here, this is the schematic representation of two axially symmetric, deformed, and oriented nuclei lying in the same plane. This is the expression for two deformed proximity potential. Now, different empirical formula used for the calculation of alpha decay. First one is the Viola-Seeberg formula. Here, log T-half is calculated using this equation. Here, A, B, C, D, and H are constants. Z is the set value of nuclei, and Q is the Q value of alpha reaction. If we know Z value and Q value, we can very easily calculate the half-life value. This empirical formula was developed in 1960, but still it is valid in the experimental lab for the production of super heavy elements. For the identification of which super heavy element is formed, we can use this expression, which isotope super heavy element is produced. Here, from experiment, we can super heavy nuclei usually emit alpha particles, so we can measure the kinetic energy of alpha particle and half-life of alpha particle. If we know kinetic energy of alpha particle, we can compute Q value by introducing half-life values and Q value. We can ascertain which super heavy isotope is produced. So this expression is still valid in the experimental labs for the conducting production of super heavy element. This is the universal curve for of Koneru et al. The expression is given here, and this is the expression to compute alpha decay half-life by Royer formula. This is the general formula for odd even nuclei. This expression can be used, and for odd nucleus, this expression can be used. Here also, we have to input only the Z value of the nuclei and alpha Q value in alpha decay Q value. This is the universal decay law of Q et al. Here, using this expression, we can calculate T half. Here, A is the mass of nuclei, ZC and ZT represent the Z value of cluster, and doctor, AD and AC represent the mass value of AD and the mass number of cluster. ABC are the constants. This expression can be used both to compute alpha half-life and cluster decay half-life. This is the expression be used for the computation of spontaneous fission half-life. First one is the semi-empirical formula of Su et al. Here C0, C1, C2, etc. are the constant. Here Z is the proton number, A is the mass number, and N is the neutron number of the nuclei which undergoing spontaneous fission. This is the semi-empirical formula for Ren also. Here C1, C2, etc. are constants. Z and A are proton number and mass number of the nuclei, and N is the neutron number of the nuclei. And this is the expression for spontaneous fission half-life of Bao et al. Here I is the neutron excess, I equal to N minus Z divided by N plus Z, and ESH is the shell correction energy. The constants are given here. Using this expression, we can compute spontaneous fission half-life. This is the shell effect dependent formula developed by us. Here Z by A is the fissility or fissionability parameter, N by Z and N minus Z by N plus Z is the isospin or neutron excess, and E shell is the shell effect. The constants are given here. I would like to mention, we recently, that is in 2021, we developed another formula which depends on shell effect and mass inertia. That expression is more accurate for predicting the spontaneous fission half-life. Now, studies on the decay modes of super heavy nuclei. I earlier said that super heavy nuclei exhibit alpha decay and spontaneous fission. Before predicting the modes of decay, we could ascertain whether the nuclei undergo proton emission or neutron emission. To find whether the nuclei undergo proton decay, we have to calculate one proton separation energy. Sp is the one proton separation energy. S2p is the second two proton separation energy. Can be calculated using this expression. Delta M Az represent the mass excess of parent nuclei. Delta M A-1 Z-1 represent the mass of daughter nucleus. Delta MH represent the mass excess of proton. Similarly, we can also calculate one neutron separation energy using this expression and two neutron separation energy using this expression. If one proton separation energy and two proton separation energy are negative, that nuclei will decay by proton emission. If Sn and S2n are negative, that nuclei will decay by neutron emission. The expression to calculate Q value in alpha decay, Q value is delta MP minus delta M alpha delta MD. Last term is the correction term. Delta MP is the mass excess of the parent nucleus. Delta M alpha is the mass excess of alpha particle, and delta MD is the mass excess of daughter nucleus. If Q value is positive, that nuclei will decay by alpha emission. If Q value is negative, that nuclei is stable against alpha decay. We can compute alpha decay by different model explained earlier, and also spontaneous fission half-life using different formula. For the prediction of decay mode, what we have to do is first we could compute the alpha half-life and then spontaneous fission half-life. If alpha half-life is less than spontaneous fission half-life, that nuclei will undergo alpha decay. If spontaneous fission is less than alpha half-life, that nuclei will decay through spontaneous fission. So also, by comparing alpha decay half-life and spontaneous fission half-life, we can ascertain whether the nuclei will undergo alpha decay or spontaneous fission. We have used our shell effect dependent formula for spontaneous fission for nuclei in the heavy and super heavy region. The nuclei are taken. First nuclei is 232 thorium to 286 flerovium. We have computed spontaneous fission half-life using shell effect dependent formula, and the values are given in the third column and the last column. The experimental values are given in the corresponding experimental values are given in the second row and this row. From comparing our value and experiment value, we can say that our model is apt for producing spontaneous fission half-life. As our empirical shell effect dependent formula produces spontaneous fission half-life that are very close to experimental value, we have extended our work to compute spontaneous fission half-life in super heavy region. The last column represent our prediction. The super heavy Z value and N value and A value of super heavy nuclei are given in these three columns. We have also calculated spontaneous fission half-life of 7 other theoretical models, and the values are also listed here. From comparing our value and other model prediction, we can see model to model variation. Even though all model reproduce experimental value reasonably well. model-to-model variation in predicting spontaneous fission half-life in super-heavy region is evident. This model-to-model variation is due to the fact that spontaneous fission is a very complex process compared to alpha decay. Now, comparison of decay modes. Earlier, I have said that the mode of decay of super heavy element is obtained by comparing alpha decay half-life with a spontaneous fission half-life. The first column represents the super heavy nuclei, and this column represents our computed values for spontaneous fission. We have computed spontaneous fission half-life using shell effect dependent formula, and these two columns shows the alpha decay half-life by CPPM and CPPM DN. What we have done is we have compared alpha decay half-life using CPPM DN with spontaneous fission half-life. If alpha half-life is less than spontaneous fission half-life, that nuclei undergo alpha decay, or otherwise that nuclei will undergo spontaneous fission. By comparing alpha decay half-life with spontaneous fission half-life, we have predicted modes of decay of these super heavy nucleus that are listed here. The experimental mode of decay are given in the last column. By comparing these two columns, we can see that our prediction match with the experimental data. Now, alpha decay chains of 271 to 294, 115 super heavy element. The alpha decay half-lives of these super heavy nuclei, including recently synthesized nuclei 287, 115 and 288, 115 have been calculated using CPPM DN. Now, to identify the mode of decay of isotope, the spontaneous fission half-life is also calculated. Here we have calculated spontaneous fission half-life using semi-empirical relation given by Su et al. Now, by comparing alpha decay half-life with the spontaneous fission half-life, we could identify the nuclei, both parent and the decay product that will survive fission. By comparing alpha decay with the spontaneous fission half-life, we can predict 4 alpha chains for 287, 115 and 3 alpha chains for 288, 114, 115, and our prediction agree well with the experimental observation. As we can able to produce experimental data well, we have extended our prediction in other isotopes of Z115, and we can see that 2 alpha chain from 273, 274 and 289, 115, 3 alpha chains from 275, 115 and 4 alpha chain consistently from 284, 85, 86, 115. We hope that our prediction will helpful for future experiments. This is the comparison of our calculated alpha half-life with the spontaneous fission half-life for the parent nuclei 287, 115. This represents the parent nuclei. This represents the nuclei in the alpha decay chain. Here, this curve, the black curve represents the spontaneous fission half-life, and the red curve represents the alpha half-life calculated CPPM DN. Here we can see that alpha half-life for the parent is very less than spontaneous fission. So parent nuclei will emit an alpha particle, and in the case of daughter 283, here also alpha half-life is less than fission half-life. So daughter also emit alpha particle. Next, the granddaughter 279. Here also alpha half-life is less than spontaneous fission. So that granddaughter also exhibit alpha decay, and in the case of granddaughter 275, it also emit alpha particle, and in the case of 270 daughter 271, spontaneous fission half-life is less than alpha half-life, so that nuclei will break by spontaneous fission. So from the figure we can see 4 alpha chains, and this prediction are in agreement with the experimental observation. Next, same curve but for 288,115. Here this black curve represents the spontaneous fission half-life, and red line represents the alpha half-life. Here we can see 1, 2, 3. 3 alpha chains from this isotope, super V isotope, and this prediction also in good agreement with the experimental observation. Now, decay modes of even Z super V nuclei. Z value range from 104 to 136. Alpha and spontaneous fission half-life of 11, 19 even Z super V nuclear and their tortoise are evaluated. For evaluation, we used mass excess. For p-value calculation, we use WS for mass table. Different mass tables are available, but WS for mass table reproduce q-value of q-value, alpha q-value in super V region. The alpha half-lives are computed using CPPM DN and shell effect and spontaneous fission half-life using shell effect dependent formula. The decay modes are predicted by comparing alpha half-life with spontaneous fission half-life. The half-lives and decay modes of 11, 19 even Z super V nuclei have been estimated. Out of this nuclei, 166 nuclei exhibit proton emission, 164 nuclei show spontaneous alpha chain followed by spontaneous fission. 2 nuclei will decay by alpha emission followed by proton emission, and 54 nuclei exhibit full alpha chains. 642 nuclei will decay through spontaneous fission. 91 isotopes have negative q-value for alpha decay. That is, these 91 nuclei are stable against alpha decay. For the completeness of our research, we predicted the decay modes of all Z nuclei. Z value ranges from 105 to 135. We have computed half-life and decay modes of 1051 odd Z nuclei. As earlier, mass excess values are taken from WS for mass table, alpha half-life using CPPM and DN, and spontaneous fission half-life shell effect dependent formula. By comparing alpha half-life with the spontaneous fission half-life, we can predict the decay modes. Decay modes are predicted by comparing alpha half-life with the spontaneous fission half-life. Prediction match well with other theoretical observation. As compared to even Z nuclei, number of protons emitters are greater in odd Z region. The number of isotopes showing alpha decay chain followed by spontaneous fission is greater in even Z region. Conclusion: the half-lives and decay modes of 1051 odd Z super heavy nuclei have been estimated. Out of this, 233 nuclei exhibit proton emission, 18 nuclei exhibit neutron emission, 92 nuclei show sequential alpha decay followed by spontaneous fission, and 9 nuclei will decay by alpha decay followed by proton emission. 39 nuclei exhibit full alpha chains, and 95 nuclei will decay through spontaneous fission, and 56 isotopes have negative value for alpha decay. That is, these nuclei are stable against alpha decay. Now, the possibility of finding heavy cluster emission from super heavy region. Before going to present this, I would like to mention what is cluster radioactivity. We know if a radioactive nuclei emit helium nuclei, we can call it as alpha decay. If a radioactive nuclei emit particle with mass greater than alpha half-life, for example, if a nuclei emit carbon, oxygen, neon, magnesium, silicon, we can broadly call it as cluster radioactivity. Cluster radioactivity is a rare process, cold process, and neutron-less process. The alpha radioactivity is called a rare process because 223 radium exhibit 14 carbon emission and also alpha emission. In 223 radium, we can observe one carbon event in the 10⁻⁻10 alpha event. That is why cluster radioactivity are said to be a rare. This process is cold process because the decay is not taking in excited state. This is a ground state decay and no neutrons are emitted in this process. So now here what I have done is the half-life for cluster emission is calculated using TF equal to log 2 divided by nu into PC into P. Nu is the assault frequency and P is the barrier penetration probability, which is calculated using one-dimensional barrier penetration method, and PC is the cluster formation probability. Here we assume that cluster is formed in the parent nucleus before its emission, as in the Gamow theory of alpha decay. We have developed 3 expressions for cluster formation probability. First one depends on AC. AC is the mass of cluster, and second one depends on ZC, ZD. ZC and ZD are the product of Z value of cluster and product and Z value of daughter nuclei, and third one which depends on Q value of the reaction. By using these 3 formula, we calculated logarithm of penetration probability for this isotope in 14C carbon emission and probability of cluster formation using these 3 formula for 24 neon emission from these isotopes. We have also extracted cluster formation probability from experimental value and are also plotted in these figures. Now we have applied our 3 preformation cluster formation probability to compute cluster half-life, logarithm of cluster half-life for the parent nuclei, different isotopes of AC nuclei emitting 14 carbon. Here formula, using formula 1, the obtained half-life values are given in this column. This column represents that half-life computed using second formula, and this represents half-life computed using third formula. Here third formula is Q-value dependent formula. We computed half-life for all cluster emitters and compared with experimental data, and we observe that Q dependent preformation probability will give better values that are comparable to experimental data. So we have extended Q-value dependent reformation probability to compute alpha decay half-life of various super heavy elements. Our calculation using Q-value dependent reformation probability is given in the third column, and this column also. The experimental data is given in the fourth column and last column. When comparing our values with experimental value, we can see a very good matching. Here we have
Dr. Santosh,
Ah.
please try to finish off this.
this slide only, sir.
Okay.
Here we have computed alpha half-life and cluster decay half-life for various isotopes of super heavy nuclei. Here cluster decay half-life is given in this column and alpha half-life is given in this column. Here we can see that 294 for the isotope 294, 296 OG, the cluster decay half-life are comparable to alpha decay half-life, and for this isotope and for this isotope, the studies suggest that heavy cluster reactivity may be comparable or even dominant to alpha decay for some of isotopes with set isotopes in super heavy region. So, thank you all.